Don't forget to go to ashkicking.com for pound the best home health and beauty fragrance products. Okay, that's what it is, man. Anything else you want to say to your fans, man?
Man, shout out to Dontaesboxingnation. You know, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Earl Spence Jr. My whole name, and just look out for me.
Yes, sir. Let me dig into your brain.
Thank you guys. Well, very quickly, you know, I'm very grateful for the opportunities that have been given to me, and you know, everything's going very well for me. I had a very good night tonight. You know, we had a great camp, like I mentioned before. You know, we had a great sparring, great training camp that allowed me to perform the way I did tonight. Adrien Broner had a tough, he's a tough fighter. You know, he's a great champion. But I was a better fighter tonight, as we had a better game plan, and I think I showed everybody, you know, great boxing on my end. We were active, we were dominating, we were in control, and I'm just very happy with the way things turned out for me. And I want to thank everybody for joining us and for being part of this wonderful show. Lou DeBella, you know, Showtime, you know, PBC, who's also part of this, and just everybody who make this whole show, you know, come together. All the media and all the fans, all the support that we get. You know, I'm over there from Cali, and I'm over here in Brooklyn, New York, and I get a lot of support from all you guys out here. So for that, I'm very thankful.
Mikey, straight back here.
Yes.
Congratulations on the victory. You fought this fight at 140 pounds. You're still the lightweight champion at 135. And I know you said in the ring afterwards about the prospect of you could fight at 135, you could fight at 140, you could fight at 147. But when you think about the way you felt physically at 140 pounds and the type of opponents out there that could make for another big fight for you, number one, how did you feel at 140 compared to fighting at 135? And what is the fight that you think is the big fight for you that's like actually a legitimate makeable fight?
Look, I felt really comfortable at 140 right now. We had a tough opponent in front of us with Adrien Broner, strong, big guy. I felt my power was still there. I felt my speed was there, my footwork, my reflexes. The only difference is because I am fighting bigger men, you know, they can take a bigger punch. And that might be translated like my power doesn't carry on, but I feel strong. If there's an opportunity to come down to 35 for a good fight, I've said it, you know, an exciting fight that interests me at 135, title unification or a good title defense, I'll do that. I'll move down to 35. If that's not available, we know boxing. I can't be waiting or sitting around chasing anybody. I'll move on with my career at 140 or possibly 147. Now you asked who's, you know, a real actual guy that we could actually land a fight with. Well, at this point, I think they gotta call us and make that happen. I'm not chasing anybody. There's guys who are with other promoters who might not be as interested in reaching out. So why even mention their names? You know, if they really want it, they gotta call us. 'Cause I'm willing to work with anybody.
It does draw up some publicity if you throw a couple names out there. If there's somebody you're legitimately interested in.
Look,
I'm happy to write about it.
Look, we can mention anybody. I mean, and if it's not gonna happen, it's just for publicity. They're serious. They can get a hold of me. They still work, you know, with my brother. We still got fighters in different promotional companies that we can always, you know, get the phone, you know, running, ringing, and why not? You know, I'm willing to work with anybody.
If I could just ask one question for your brother, Robert. Maybe you could just address your thoughts as the trainer, how you thought Mikey was physically at 140, and whether you think he could handle perhaps a move up to 147, as he mentioned, as possible.
Well, he felt good. He felt strong. He controlled the fight up until the 12th round, so there was no signs of him feeling weak or getting tired. He was in great shape. You know, obviously, it'd be you know, we'd have to be very smart about moving up to 147. But you know, if the right fight, the right opponent is there, you know, there's a few that have also moved up in weight. You know, it's not like Mikey's the only one moving up. You know, we have a few at welterweight that are really good fighters that have been moving up in weight too. So, you know, anything like that, you know, we will be more than open to take.
Mikey Garcia, Real Talk Boxing. Earlier in the fight, Broner using a lot of movement and speed to be able to stick and move and try to circle and stay away from you. And you wind up catching him some big shots, but what adjustment do you make throughout the fight to be able to deal with the speed?
Earlier in the fight, I knew he was going to be fresh, and then he was going to be using his speed. I expected that, but I knew that with my timing, finding that range and that distance, and starting to land the shots to slow him down. And that's what we did. We started picking up the activity, working behind the jab, and I think he must have felt some power because he started to respect a little bit, and that probably slowed him down a little bit, enough to give me the opportunity to pick up that work rate.
Mikey, Xavier Porter, BrooklynFights.com. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
For the sensational fight. I don't think I've ever seen anybody fight this well against Adrien Broner, honestly. My question is not only just for you, but also for Lou. Mikey mentioned the fact that he's able to make 140 or continue to fight at 140. And he said that there's nobody out there fighting him. But you have a guy at 140 that would particularly like to get in the ring with Mikey. Regis McGregor. So what do you think about possibly matching up Mikey against Regis?
We got to let things build. Regis is here. Look, Mikey's been in this position when he was a younger guy coming up too. You want to fight the best, and when you know how good you are, you really want to fight the best. But we'll build to that, and Regis will keep winning and do what he's got to do. And maybe I know that this man's not going to run away from a challenge. So you don't know what could happen in the future. But it was one other thing too. You're sitting here watching a guy who's dominant 35-pounder, moved up tonight to 140, fight a guy that's been fighting at 147, dominated that guy, now talking about 47. This is like throwback stuff. This is like old-time boxing. This is what it means to be pound for pound. When you know that you're the best at 135, you'll go up to 140 to take a challenge, and you'll sit there and talk about going up. Great respect for that. That's what it's about.
Coach Anthony here with Behind the Gloves. Now, Mikey, there was a lot of build up to this fight. Adrien was doing a lot of talking. Were you surprised on how you dominated? I mean, I seen from the first round you went out there, you set the pace, you went to the body. Were you surprised how you were able to dominate the fight?
Well, we had a great training camp, and I had great sparring partners to work on different game plans. And although he started off using, the jab and then trying to, use his footwork and a lot of head movement, and, we knew he was going to slow down once I started picking up the work rate. And I started landing some jabs, started connecting. I found my distance and my range that was, the most effective thing. And I keep telling everybody, the timing beats speed. And I think I had a better timing, better range. I was in control. Whenever he wanted to step on the gas and come on the attack, I was just one step behind him and he wasn't able to touch me. And when I wanted to put on a little bit of pressure, just a little bit, I took a small little step forward and was able to land a jab or a straight right hand, just enough to keep him, on that defensive side. So I had a great game plan and it worked out perfect.
And if you had it your way, who would be the next opponent you would want to fight? I know you're a fighter and you just do what your team tells you to do, but who would you like to fight?
Like I said, we can call out a lot of guys, but I'm open to anybody that wants to step up. At 135, I've mentioned it before. A title unification match. Jorge Linares is the #1 guy that stands out the most. If that's unavailable, at 140, you got title unification matches right now coming around the corner between Crawford and Ndongo. That would be a great matchup. But we all know the promotional, problems sometimes don't allow fights to happen. So I'm not gonna be waiting for anybody. I think look at the turnout tonight and look at the media and everybody more buzz about my fight with Adrien Broner than people talking about Crawford and Ndongo. No disrespect to the champions, but they just make it, be honest. And I'm not gonna be waiting for someone that the promoter might not be willing to work with. If that's unavailable, then I'm looking at other options, even 140 or even, like I said, even 137.
And I'll say something because Mikey won't say it. Mikey's not a guy who does what his team says to do. Mikey didn't spend 2.5 years, in a lawsuit to do what his team says to do. Mikey doesn't talk like this, so I'll say more. Mikey makes his own decisions. He runs his own career. That's what he waited 2.5 long years to do. So at this point, we'll all sit down, but who Mikey wants to fight is the guy we don't fight.
Mikey, what did you think about his power?
You know, I felt the fight size advantage. Maybe he was a little heavier, but honestly, I didn't feel the power. He landed a few shots, but nothing really hurt me. I knew he let his hands go to the body. You know, some good hard shots, but not enough to hurt me. I don't know. I didn't get caught clean effective either. I mean, if I would got caught with something really solid, then maybe I would have said, you know, I felt the power, but I wasn't caught effective like that. So I honestly I didn't feel the power.
Mike, thank you. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
One of the best fighters in the world is you. One of the other best fighters in the world is Lomachenko. He's fighting in a couple of days. You two together probably is one of the best fights in boxing. What do you think about fighting Lomachenko despite emotional?
Listen, I think that would be a great matchup based on styles. I hear he is willing to fight me and has mentioned that he wants to fight me. His manager reached out to my brother asking, you know, maybe we can build that fight up. But I don't see him making the move up to 135. You know, he's fighting a guy at 130 who just came out from a loss at 126. You know, I mean, that doesn't show me he wants to move to 35. If you're serious about it, like I said, they can come, you know, give us a phone call. You know, we can bring them on to Showtime. You know, we can definitely have those discussions. I think it would be a great matchup at 135. I ain't coming down to nobody. I'm not gonna wait for anybody either.
Back here.
That might be Scott Kelly with the punchline. What do you think about the possibility of the winner of Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather? Would you guys move your training camp?
Hey, why not? I mean, hey, at this point, you know, like I said, I'm open to any options. And if they're serious about that, I'll take on that fight too. You know?
Congratulations, brother.
Right here, Mikey, Terrell, fighting from the system. You're in a confusing situation.
Where are you at?
Right here, okay. Linares has the Diamond Championship at 135, correct?
Well, okay, to clarify some of that, okay. He held the WBC lightweight title until he was out for injuries, which forced him to vacate the title that Dejan Sladikanen picked up. When he returned, the WBC granted him status of emeritus champion, and he holding the WBC diamond title, which is basically like a mandatory position to fight me.
But if you really want to clarify, he didn't want to fight Dejan.
He didn't want to fight Dejan.
He didn't want that fight.
He didn't want the fight.
I mean, he ran away from that fight, and then I know this because I promote Dejan, and then this man demolished Dejan. So, I mean, honestly, Linares didn't want that fight, and I'm sure Linares isn't really aching to fight him either.
But now you are technically that Diamond Championship. You're technically Terrence Crawford's mandatory, correct?
That could be depending on the guidelines that WBC puts out. What they normally do is they give a voluntary optional match. So I would have an optional if I wanted to fight somebody else. Crawford would have a voluntary matchup. You know, if you wanted to hold the title or not, and then eventually they match each other up. Yeah.
Mikey, Joseph Correa, Firm Proof Media, right here. Right here.
Okay, gotcha.
Congratulations on an impressive win tonight.
Thank you.
I noticed early in the fight you were using a lot of feints. Was that something that you game planned for to kind of put him on the defensive, or was it something he was showing you? And was there anything that he did that surprised you in the fight?
Well, I kind of figured out and realized that he was waiting to counter me. So if I just extended a jab, he would probably counter with an overhand right. So I would feint him to try to make him, you know, counter, or try to, you know, bait him to throw his right, and maybe I can counter him in return. So it was a lot of feint to try to confuse him a little, and it seemed to work. Sometimes I landed the jab, sometimes I would just feint. It was just part of the game plan to keep him guessing and keep him, you know, on a little bit more on the defensive side.
Did he?
He landed a couple of times after my jab, but we were expecting that. But even those were not flush. I was able to kind of, you know, step aside just enough to avoid a solid, you know, right hand from him.
Thank you.
Mikey, when you were out for 2 years, a certain TV network told you no one cares about you. Well, how does it feel now when people do care?
2.5 years off, you know, and there was a lot of questions. People wondered if my heart was still in it or if I would come back like before, if I'd be, you know, motivated enough. But, you know, it's nice to come back and show everybody that, you know, my heart's in it. I'm hungrier than ever. I'm probably better than ever. And, you know, we can see the results. You know, it was a great crowd, great outcome. A lot of fans came out to support. All the media was out here, so you know I think that tells whoever had doubts, you know, shows them, you know, that we're back and you know we're ready to take over.
Mike, BrooklynFights.com, Adrien Broner. Can you speak to the fact that one of the rounds you seem to put your hands down when you was fighting Broner for about a good minute and a half? Can you speak about you know why you did that and what you saw in Broner that made you do that, as well as some of the training that you experienced with Marcos Maidana previously when Maidana fought Broner? Was some of that helpful also going against Broner?
I worked with Marcos Maidana for the Mayweather fights, but he did tell us that Adrien Broner is a strong guy and that he finishes the fights real strong. Even after being dropped, you know, early in the fight with Marcos, Adrien Broner was able to come back strong, finish the fight real strong. So Marcos did, you know, mention that to my brother, and so we were aware of that. We were cautious about that, but that's why we didn't give him those opportunities in the later rounds. We kept that activity going. You know, I think it might have been the 10th round where I might have slowed down a little bit, but then picked it back up on the 11th and 12th round. You know, we don't want to make the mistake of giving him those rounds. To the point of me dropping my hands, you know, I just wanted to show everybody, you know, I got more things in the tricks. You know, I got more little tricks in the box that people still haven't seen. I keep telling you, you guys still haven't seen the best of me. And I wanted to show you a little something. And even in front of Adrien Broner, who's fast and strong, I'm not afraid of him. I wasn't going to be afraid. I knew what I was doing. Drop my hands, let him throw punches. He wasn't going to land anything. And he backed off. Instead of trying to, you know, knock me out or let his hands go, he knew, you know, it wasn't going to happen. So he actually started walking back. And I walked him back with my hands down. You know, I was just showing him he's not a better fighter than me. You know, I beat him just even at that, mentally. I think that was an advantage for me there, a victory in itself, and I show the fans, you know, what I'm able to do inside the ring.
Mikey, does this victory over Broner put you in the mix for pound supremacy?
That's up to you guys and the riders. Everybody has a different list. I think it's a step closer to that, but I'm not chasing that either. I'm just here to do my job, you know, and let the fans enjoy a great night of boxing, and that's all I'm here to do. Anybody that wants to put me on the list or not, it doesn't really matter to me.
Hey Mikey, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
After your long drawn-out battle with Top Rank, if they do allow you to get into the ring with guys like Lomachenko and Crawford, would it be a little sweeter to be one of those guys and kind of stick it to them?
Look, if I take a fight with them, there's no grudge. I know this is business. I know how business is done, and you know, I learned from those 2.5 years. I learned how they handle business. They want to fight. If they want to put one of their guys, you know, they're gonna come to us, and we can work together. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not gonna come and kneel down to whatever terms they want to, you know, give. It doesn't work like that. I'm in a different position now. I think you know, these last few fights show, you know, the fighter that I am, and not necessarily that it would be a, you know, sweeter victory for that reason, but I think you know, just showing the fans that I'm a better fighter than those fighters that you mentioned who are held up here, you know, and me beating those kind of guys, that's the victory there. Not who's promoting them or who's promoting the show. It's, you know, beating the guys that people think are on top of the pound for pound list or on top of the world and you know, beatable. Because I know I could beat all these guys.
Hey, what's up, Mikey? Right over there.
Yeah.
A while back in a couple of videos by Ellie, you kind of jokingly, you know, humored the idea of fighting Keith Thurman. That's a guy already on this side. It's not no politics in the way. You mentioned 47. I'm just wondering, as a fan, at the end of the day, is Keith Thurman somebody you would get in the ring with?
I would do it. And honestly, if it's a good fight that the people, media, and the network want to, discuss, I'm open to discussing that too. He's a great champion, great fighter. He's a unified champion of welterweight, so that'd be a great matchup, great accomplishment, big challenge. But that's what we want. That's exactly the kind of fights that we want. We want a, big challenge. And if I want to be remembered in the sport, those are the fights that you got to take. I could take easier fights, fighting top contenders, but, fairly easier fights. But that really doesn't do anything. The fans won't recognize you, they won't remember you. It's not going to help build the legacy.